against a sea of troubles, and by opposing, end them. To die, to sleep. And by a sleep, to say we end the heartaches and the thousand natural shocks that flesh is heir to. 'Tis a consummation devoutly to be wished. To die, to sleep. Da 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 dum ba da dee da 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 dee da da da. The Statue of Liberty. Ellis Island. Port of entry. Give me you're tired, you're hungry, you're poor. More poor, more poor. You know one. Yes, you do. Happy. From Saigon. To Sydney. Every day down Cleveland Street and Crown Street. With his smile on his face and his bottle in his hand. And when his bottle is empty, he goes into a bookstore, takes out a book, sits down, opens it up, and falls to sleep. To die, to sleep. Tired, hungry, poor. You know another. Yes, you do. Joe from Germany, with his red helmet and his hunched back, pushing his trolley through the city center. I always wanted to meet him. And then one day, he was trying to thread a needle. I can do that. I can help you. I can help you. Nein. Sprechen Sie Deutsch? Ich kann ein kleines Deutsch sprechen. Ich can help. I can help. I can. Ja, ja. Dankeschön. Bitteschön, bitteschön. His hands. He had the most beautiful, healing hands. Auf Wiedersehen. Good as God. Good as God. His eyes. He had beautiful, bright eyes. He was all aglow. What if he were a saint? How would you know? How would you know if someone was a saint? To die, to sleep. To sleep, perchance to dream. Aye, there's a rub. For in this sleep of death, what dreams may come when we have shuffled off this mortal coil must give us pause. There's the respect that makes calamity of so long life. For who would bear the whips and scorns of time, the oppressor's wrong, the proud man's contumely, the pangs of disprized love? The law's delay, the insolence of office. And just another lucky country. G'day. Now, this tree here is indigenous. Now, I bet you haven't got a word like that where yous come from. Yeah, but I bet you don't spell it the same way that we do. Yeah, all right, don't get your ruffled, Mr. Shakespeare, whatever your name is. What's in the name anyways? Everything. Your mother, your father, your sisters, your brothers, your aunts, your uncles, your children, your nephews, your nieces, your cousins, your in-laws, your ancestors. Your ancestors. Your ancestors. Who were they? Your ancestors. Where were they from? Your ancestors. No, where were they really from? Your ancestors. Your ancestors. That's who you are. That's who you really are. Your ancestors. My name is Ning Ho. Dmitri Seropoulos. Seidenstein. Seidenstein. Silk stone. Yes, it's a dichotomy. Yes, I am a dichotomy. And you? top of the morning to you. Right, yar. But Mr. MacDougall's my name. Now, if you look up in your encyclopedia there, you'll soon see what the Scotsman gave to this planet. And then you'll know what clever country is all about. Oh, well, back to our story. As little Johnny Hamlet contemplates suicide. Oh, well, it's on the syllabus. And the spurns. That patient merit of the unworthy takes when he himself might his quietest make with a bare bodkin. Why did you come to Australia? I fell in love. Why did you come to Australia? I fell in love with an Australian. Why did you come to Australia? All my family was killed. My mother, my father, my sisters, my brothers, even my cousins. I had nowhere else to go. Why did you come to Australia? I left my country for 1 day, for 1 week, for 1 month. It was invaded, taken over, went under siege. I had nowhere else to go. Why did you come to Australia? Why do you think people come to Australia? For love, for peace, for hope? Why do you think people go anywhere? And me? Why did I come to Australia? Please, you wouldn't believe me if I told you. I mean, it would be like believing in a leprechaun. Or a Harlequin. And you see, there's the facts and the truth. The facts are very simple. The truth is more interesting. The facts, I came here for work. I finished and I went. It happened again. I came and went. Came and went, came and went, came and went. And finally I came and got stranded here. Them's the facts. The truth. Once, in another country, an Aboriginal, an older gentleman came to me and he said, I've been testing you. You're good. You should come to Australia. And the next time when I came, into my dressing room walks another Aboriginal, an older gentleman. He says to me, I've been watching you all week. You're good. You're real good. We need people like you in Australia. I hope you stay here. And then it all began to happen. Dreams, omens, coincidences. That's the truth. It's like one of your other immigrants said, a kind of prodigal son, Signor Patricio Bianco. Patrick White? In Australia, everyone is like a wandering Jew. I wouldn't know. Now, to the conclusion of this story by Signor Guillermo Shakespeare, the Inferno. Who would these fardels bear to grunt and sweat under a weary life, but that the dread of something after death, the undiscovered country from whose bourne no traveler returns, puzzles the will, and makes us rather bear those ills we have than fly to others that we know not of. Thus conscience does make cowards of us all. Thus the native hue of resolution is sicklied o'er with the pale cast of thought. And enterprises of great pitch and moment with this regard, their currents turn awry and lose the name of action. suits me, or can a wog be a larrikin? I think they can be. What I would like to do now is tell 4 dreams that I've had since living in Australia. As I said in the story, I did get stranded here. That's true. And when I came here in '85, that was the year that I got stranded here. And it was obvious from the day that I got here that I had no return ticket. I had very little money, and the work that I was supposed to have, there wasn't any. Big trouble. So I didn't really know what to do, but I realized, to me, I was on Aboriginal land, even though I was in Sydney. And I had met Aboriginal elder who welcomed me here, and his name was Gabu. And I thought, why not say hello to Gabu telepathically? And so I created a little ritual that I did each night before I went to sleep. And I would just, before I went off to sleep, I would say hello to him and say hello to the land. Naive, but I did it. And on the 7th night, I had a dream. I was standing on a riverbank. I heard a noise, and there was something running from behind me. And I turned, and just as I turned, what arrived by my side was a giant goanna. And it was panting, and it was in panic. And it looked up at me, and I looked down at it, and it blinked, and then it jumped into the water. And as it went into the water, I could see red iridescent stripes lighting up, like that. And it started to glow, and it started to grow. As it swam, it became larger and larger. And I heard another noise. And I turned, and there was a caravan of white cars, white government cars, diplomatic cars with the pennants flying. And they all screeched up, causing a lot of dust to fly. They opened the doors, and they were all dressed in their beautiful suits. They were after the goanna, but they couldn't catch the goanna. And I stood by the riverbank, I looked at them, and I watched. And the goanna had become larger and larger. And when it crawled out of the other side of the river, it had become a giant white dragon. And it looked back at me again, and it blinked. And when it blinked, it teleported me right next to it on the other side of the river. And now I looked up at it, and it turned, and it started to run. And as it ran, it started to spread its wings. And it ran faster and faster and faster, until finally it took flight. And I went, wow, wow. And I woke up, and I was going, wow, wow. And it was a beautiful dream. And I felt suddenly that I had arrived here. And I felt I was going to be okay, and I felt attuned to the land. It's a little dream, but that was the first dream I had in Australia, so it was important to me. And it was a beautiful dream. A few years later, 1988, January 1st, my birthday. It was also the birthday of the bicentennial. And I was at one of my local coffee shops, the Tropicana in Darlinghurst. And I had my coffee, and I left. I went to rendezvous with a couple of friends who I was going to take to Centennial Park. And we were going to look at the Bicentennial Pavilion, and I was going to show them a sacred site that Aboriginal had shown me in Centennial Park. And I got in my little yellow Renault, and I started to drive. And I went zigzagging through Darlinghurst, and I ended up at Oxford Street. And when I got to Oxford Street, going by me was a police motorcade with white diplomatic cars with their pennants flying. That's funny. And I got in right behind it. I followed it up Oxford Street, and it turned into Centennial Park. And when I went to turn in, the police said, no, you can't come in today. You can't have your car in. This is the Prime Minister, and he's going to inaugurate the Bicentennial and the Bicentennial Pavilion. So I went home, and I rendezvoused my friends, Marianne from Melbourne and Bruno from Adelaide. We got in the yellow Renault, drove to Centennial Park, and we went in and looked at the Bicentennial Pavilion. And to tell you the truth, we weren't impressed. So we went meandering up the hill, and I said, I'm going to show them the sacred site. And I'm looking for it and looking for it. been a long time since I was there, and all of a sudden the rocks are starting to look alike, and the trees are looking alike. And I go, oh, and they say, Ira, do you know where this is? Is this for sure, for real? I said, yeah. And finally, we got to this one rock at the top of the hill. And from the front, it looks like an ordinary rock. But from the side, it has the perfect profile of an aboriginal. And we looked where the face looked. And Bruno stood on one side and Marianne on the other. And we looked, and the face looked over the Bicentennial Pavilion. It looked beyond the Blue Mountains, and it looked all the way across Australia. And we just stood there in silence. And suddenly, Bruno and Marianne turned and looked at each other. And I saw this, and like lightning, they fell in love. Wow. I felt like Cupid, you know, little prick, ding, ding. Or Harlequin, with your slapstick, or the devil, with his full blink. Love. I guess it's better than any dream. And that was the conclusion of that dream. The dragon and Bruno and Marianne. It's just a little dream. I have 3 more dreams I want to tell you. There's maybe no point to them, but I think there is. But you'll have to guess what it is. The next dream I had that I want to tell you about was in 1979. And again, as is the best time to dream, I was asleep. This time in my dream appeared the great Irish-American clown, Lucille Ball. Wow! She's better than any dragon. I used to love her. I used to watch her all the time. What's she doing in my dream? She was in a black unitard like this, only black. And she looked beautiful. She looked ageless. And the room she was in was like a doctor's waiting room, only quite empty, quite lifeless. And it was wooden, and there was a sofa. And she told me she was going to do a mask performance for me. Wow, Lucille Ball doing a mask performance for me in my dream. Fantastic. And she put on the mask, and she started to improvise and dance. And her body was fantastic. It was fluid. It was ageless. It was like nothing. Bones. And she did this performance with the mask on. I loved it. And suddenly, she went behind the sofa, and she started to float backwards. And behind her was a black wall. And she started to melt, little by little, into the black wall. Until finally, she disappeared. And it was as if she had never existed. I thought, wow, what does this dream mean? And I asked myself, what does this dream mean? That's a good thing to ask if you wonder what it means. And the answer I got was, Lucille Ball just died. And it will be on the front page in the morning paper. And I went to sleep. And when I woke up, I remembered this dream, and I got up, I got dressed right away. I went up to the newsagent, and on the front page, Lucille Ball dies. And I felt sad. I didn't even know her, but I just felt sad. And I went home, and I started pacing in the kitchen. And I had to go to work that day. I had to be a clown in a shopping mall. I thought, how am I going to do that? I feel awful. I just felt grief. I didn't know why. How am I going to clown today? And I got my case ready and put my props in and tried to have some breakfast. I had to take a bus, a train, a bus to get to this stinking mall, wherever it was. No doubt it was out west somewhere. I got on the bus and sat down, and the first thing I did was start to cry like an idiot in the morning on a bus. Oh, God, this is what the whole day is going to be like? And I took the train, and the tears were starting to dry up. Took the bus. I got to the shopping mall. It was the ugliest shopping mall in Sydney. It was old. It was ugly. Terrible lights, terrible colors. I thought, oh my God, why this? And I went upstairs to the office and I said, I'm the clown for today. Somewhere I could change. I said, oh yes, go in there. And I went in this other room, and there was a young woman clown who I'd never seen before. She said, hi, Ira. I said, hi. She said, oh, I knew you were coming today. It's nice to meet you. I'm Noon. Hi, Noon. She said, well, I got to go now. Have a good day, and I'll see you down there. And she was all chirpy, and I thought, one comes and one goes. That's that dream. Don't ask me what it means. The third dream. Be patient. There's only 2 minutes. The third dream that I want to tell you about tonight. It happened the night that I opened the first piece that you saw. Harlequin suits me, or can a walk be Larrikin? So the night that I opened that, which is just about exactly, not to the day, 1 year ago today. And that night I had this fantastic dream of Sir John Gielgud playing Henry V. Whoa. What kind of dream is this going to be? And there he was at the Bondi Pavilion. Only the Bondi Pavilion was quite different. It was like Gaudi, you know Gaudi in Barcelona in Spain. And it was this huge, grotesque building with all kinds of weird shapes. And when you went inside, each floor in each room was also a weird shape. Go to Sheer Boy. Is this a dream? And I hovered above the pavilion, and I hovered above Bondi Beach, and in from the sea were coming hundreds of boats. And there was rowboats, and there was rubber rafts with the motorboats. And the actors were in there, and they were invading, like in the story of Henry V, the English were invading France. And on the beach stood one actor on a horse, and he was there looking very proud, as if he had just arrived all dry and beautiful, you know, like in the movies. And the actors in the rubber rafts started to sink. And the actors in the rowboats had to save them. And they all arrived, and they all attacked, and they went into Bondi Pavilion, the Gaudi Pavilion. And I went in to see the show in there, and everywhere I went, there was different scenes going on, but everywhere I went, John Gielgud was performing. I know him now. And this one scene was in a tower. And there was 2 actors on stage with him, and all the rest of the audience had left. And John Gielgud looked at me, and he went like that, and the other actors left, and he's just staring at me. This is very strange. What's this about? And he nodded. And it was as if he gave me some kind of blessing. And then he disappeared. I thought, well, I'll look through the rest of the building. And I went into a room that was like a tavern, and there was a maiden with the big kazubis, you know? And she was cleaning up, and all the stools were on the tables, everything was finished. And I said, do you mind if I have a play on this stage? And they had the beautiful old wooden stage. And I was dancing around and playing and miming. And there in a doorway showed up 3 clowns. I said, where are you going to perform? They said, follow us. And there was 2 normal clowns and a dwarf. So I followed them, and when we got downstairs, they ended up in a Punch and Judy show. The 2 clowns were doing Punch and Judy, and the dwarf was interacting with him. And I was watching in the audience like you. Or you. And then they started to interject with me, and we improvised, the 4 of us, and it was quite wonderful. And then they disappeared, and the dream disappeared. What's that dream all about? And the message I got is, you should direct Henry V. Fine. So when I woke up in the morning, I thought, I'll direct Henry V. Only I'll direct it with 12 women. And that day, I ran into an actress that I knew, Mary Ann Henshaw. And I said, I have a project in mind. Maybe you'd be interested to do it. And she said, yes, right away. Well, that's funny. And then we had a meeting about it. And I said, actually, what I want to do is direct Henry V, and I'd like you to play Henry V. they said, I'll do it. What? I'll do it. But I haven't told this. I'd love to. And for the next few days, every day, I'd run into another actress. And that's how I casted the play, basically. And there was 12 women, and we did the Henry V. We never actually performed it publicly, but we did the whole thing, 3.5 hours, uncut. And it was tough. It was tough going. Me with 12 women, boy. Some dreams you shouldn't follow. That's the message of that dream. The last dream I had was just a few months ago. And this was another strange dream, because that's what dreams are supposed to be. Strange. And in this dream, like in the first dream I told you, I was teleported. This time I was teleported to northern New South Wales, and I arrived at a house. It was an Aboriginal house. I knew that. I went up the steps, the front door was open, and I went in, and there were 3 sisters, 3 Aboriginal sisters. And there was a little Aboriginal boy, and he was sitting down eating ants. And the sisters were catching moths. And they would catch a moth, and they would go up to the little brother, and they would show their hand right in front of his face, and he would look at their hand, and they'd open their hand, and the moth would start to flutter, and then fly away, and he'd watch it. And they'd do that again repeatedly, until finally, when they open up, he'd try to catch it. Open it up. He'd try to catch it, and finally, he could catch one himself. Then they showed him how to eat it, and they showed me. You take it, and you throw it against a wall, boom. Falls down, you pick it up, eat it. Tasted fine to me. But what was funny about this room is they were on a huge carpet in the living room. And the carpet was the exact shape of Australia. That's interesting. But when I looked at it closer, it wasn't just a carpet, it was actual sand and dirt. It was the actual ground of Australia, only in miniature. It was amazing. I backed away from it and just looked at it. And then I noticed on a sofa, not the same one as Lucille Ball's, but on a sofa, there was an older Aboriginal man. And I said, this must be wonderful to eat this way. It must be as close to nature as you can get. And he said, no. See, you're as close to nature as you can get. I said, me? He said, yeah, you're an artist. You're creative. To be creative is as close to nature as you can get. 2 days later, in the newspaper, was this article. Now I'll pass that around so everybody has a look now. I've photocopied it so that I can read it. Okay. Dingo helps free 5,000 captive ants. In Rome. 5,000 ants are trying to start a new life somewhere in Venice after being liberated by a Venetian magistrate from their unasked-for role as an element of conceptual art. The ants were part of a work by the Japanese artist Yukinori Yanagi, one of the exhibitors at this year's Venice Biennale. Dutifully, the insects marched in line up and down through a system of transparent tubes and boxes on a carpet of sand colored to depict the flags of various countries. The exhibit was entitled, "Can Art Change the World?" I don't know who art is. Before anyone could come to a conclusion about that, a female visitor claiming that many of the ants were dying contacted Dingo, the local society that rescues stray animals, and the Italian Vegetarian Association. They in turn reported the matter to the magistrates, accusing the artist of cruelty to animals. The ants were dying, Dingo said, because their highly organized life had been turned upside down and they were forced to follow set paths in a climate and surroundings completely different from their own. The exhibit, it went on, even though purporting to be artistic, is highly uneducational and lacking in the necessary respect for nature and living creatures. The Venice public prosecutor, Bianca Maria Controne, ordered that the ants be freed and has opened a judicial investigation. In particular, she is trying to establish whether the ants suffered for their art. The only comment from the Biennale was that ants are not a protected species in Italy. Well, that's as close as that artist is going to get to nature. Buonasera.
Stay here, okay? Now, Columbina is going to be here soon. Where's your mask?
What mask?
What mask?
What mask?
The mask.
The mask.
Where is it?
What?
The mask. You're supposed to have a mask.
Oh, I see.
No, you don't see. Harlequin is supposed to have a mask.
No.
Yes.
No. Harlequino has a mask. Harlequin doesn't.
Harlequino, Harlequin, what's the difference?
Big.
Big difference. How big? What were you doing?
Nothing.
Nothing. You weren't doing nothing. You were doing something. What were you doing?
Something.
Aha! What something was that?
Nothing.
Something is nothing?
Nothing is something.
What something is nothing?
Nothing.
Get off! Stay here! Stay here! Columbina will be here, okay? Can you stay here? Are you sure? Are you sure? All right. Let's shake on that. Harlequin, would you stop that? Harlequin, stay there. Harlequin, I can see you. Yes, I can. I can see you. You're just there. Get up. She'll be here. Get up. Harlequin, would you get up? Put your feet down. Put your feet down. Put your feet down. All right, now stay here, all right? Okay? Harlequin, would you stop? Stay there, all right? Harlequin, I'm not playing this stupid game, okay? You fall backwards, you land on the back of your head. All right. All right. All right. All right. I'm staying, okay? Now, if you fall forwards, you land on your face, okay? Okay? All right. All right. Extend your arm. put your face on the ground backwards. So that's not funny, all right? No, it's not. No, it's not. No, it's not funny. Is that funny? All right, that's funny. So now, I want you to stay here, okay? Stay here. See your head up, all right? Harlequin, get up! Get up! Get up! Get up! Harlequin! Get up! Get up! Get up! Get up! Get up! Would you get up? Harlequin, get up! I mean, get up! Ah! 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 Get up! Yeah! Yeah! Oh. Get up! Would you get up? Get up. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Can't get here.
Well, what are we going to do?
Nothing.
Nothing? We can't do nothing.
We can.
No, we have to do something.
Oh, some tricks.
You don't want to see any more tricks? I can't do any more.
Just a few?
None.
One.
One and that's it. All right, you ready for it?
No.
What?
No.
What do
kiss me goodnight.
I'm not kissing you goodnight. Let's go.
Columbina kisses me goodnight.
I don't care that Columbina kisses you goodnight.